NBA offseason buy list. 79 players, all of their markets analyzed so that we can see who's underpriced, who's cooled, who's risen, and we can make decisions about who we want to buy into, why, and what card designs to look at. Okay, 80% of my actual buying went into 2 of the 5 different archetypes that I'm going to walk you through. And I bet that barely any of it went into the players that you would expect. And one of the reasons for that is I looked at 2 cards of the same player from the same set, the same year, the same card grade, and one of them sells for $20 while the other sells for 210. That's like an 8.5 time increase. And what's really interesting is that when I then looked at the wider market, I could see the same thing happening for other players too. Because what I actually began to see is that there's not just one NBA rookie card market right now, there's 3. And they're moving in different directions. So which one the player that you're looking to buy into sits in is a signal all on its own. Okay? In this video, I'm not going to go through every player that is in the list. If you want it, the link is in the description for you to go and get the buy list. It's free. Okay? In this video, I'm going to show you what makes it usable and how you can get the most out of it for yourself. Because the biggest thing that you need to understand is that for every name that's on this list, it's not just one number that we look at or one decision that we make whether we're going to buy into them. It's 2. It's which card is right for us and whether we buy in or not at all. Okay, so for this buy list, I spent way too many hours inside of Card Ladder analyzing the different players and the different cards so that I could get a gauge for their market. The thing that I did is I looked at PSA 10s of 3 different card types so that we could keep a comparison there. We used like an anchor card, a markup card, and then a top tier card which reflects their entire market. Every figure that's in here is in Australian dollars, and almost every number that you'll see has the sales number next to it, because a percentage without a sample size or a sample size of 1 isn't accurate data that we want to base things off. So some quick caveats before we dive into this. I'm not buying every single person that is on this list. That's what a lot of people are understanding, and it's just not true because that would be crazy. This is the data that I looked at to inform my buying decisions. As I said earlier, about 80% of who I bought are in the breakout tier or the superstar tier. And the reason for that is that markets reprice for these players when they move up an archetype due to a catalyst event. So for a superstar to go into the elite, it's going to be an MVP or a championship. For a breakout player to go into the superstar, it's going to be all-star selections, and it's going to be performances that far exceed what their expectations were and deep playoff runs with their teams. So there are a lot of players in there who have established markets already where their markets won't cool too much, but those catalyst events can potentially happen for them, which is going to cause a repricing of their market, and that's what we're looking for to be there when that happens, so that's when we can exit. Okay, the second thing is that there's no specific cards to buy in here, and the reason for that is that that doesn't give you guys value. What I would rather do is teach you the skill. Okay, I'd rather teach you my thinking process and how it is that I spot value and make decisions of, is this player undervalued right now, and which specific card should I buy? So those specific cards, they come down to the tags of your best sellers. That's why I'm not suggesting go and buy this card, because it's worked great for me, but it may not work great for other people. So this is why the dashboard becomes so important, because we're looking at our best selling, like our most profitable cards and our fastest to sell cards, and looking at which have 2 or more tags. What are the best selling tags for us? Because then I can go, oh, this player is someone that I want to buy into. Here's the sort of card designs that I want to look for. I've found these ones that are available, and now I can go, is this price fair based on the average last season and where I think it will get to this year if these catalyst events happen? That's the entire thinking process. Right player, is the card design right based on my tags, and is the price fair right now compared to where it has been and where it could be should these exit catalyst events happen for them? Okay, when I looked at cards, I used PSA 10s, simply because that tends to happen, what tends to happen at that level, I should say, flows downstream into the other markets and the other cards for that player. Okay, some players have more context to them, particularly the prospects and the breakouts, because the players that are in the superstar, in the elite, and in the Hall of Fame, you guys already know them, and a lot of things have already happened in their markets to price them. So a lot of context isn't needed there because there's not a lot of risk involved with them. We don't need to think about a ton of different other market dynamics. It's like with Luka. His market's going to reprice if he wins an MVP or he wins a championship. Okay, but for someone like AJ DeBansa or Keontae George, there's going to be all-star selections, there's going to be rookies of the year, there's going to be first time in the playoffs with a team that has a surging team narrative. So there's other variables to take into account, which means that their prices could reprice more but there's also going to be more variance throughout the season. So that context is there for those players. Okay? And the final thing that I want to reiterate with you is that a player's market reprices when they move up an archetype. Whether they stay at that archetype or they just reach it and then drop again is a different conversation. But we tend to see that happen more with the prospects and the breakouts. When a prospect truly reaches a breakout level, they've done what Cooper Flagg, VJ Edgecombe, Dylan Harper, Concanapple did last season. They're now breakout candidates looking to get to their first All-Star appearances. Or when a breakout goes to a superstar level, it's when, okay, we've had an All-Star selection, but have they been able to maintain that and hold that position in the market? Okay? And final quick example before we dive in of my thinking around buying. I got offered a JJ rookie auto out of 35 for $120. The market was pretty thin on it. There was a recent sale at 120, and then there was a recent sale at 130, but then there was also a sale back at the end of 2024 for 60. So I got offered 120 on it, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, you know what, this has the right tags, and very thin. But what I did was I went and looked at other rookie autos for him from mid-tier sets that were like this, but were numbered out of 25 or out of 50 or out of 49, just somewhere around that out of 35 range to see what value are they doing because they have more liquidity and more volume in them. And what I saw was that they've actually increased over that time. So there's a case here to say that, hey, this card hasn't publicly sold, but this is what the other cards like it have done in that time. So therefore, this should be up around the 150, 160, 170 mark. So therefore, I'm looking at that and I'm going, hey, the data looks good for buying. I'm big on JJ. I think he's going to have another great season, the new face of Atlanta. So this is something that I'm going to buy into because I don't see his market cooling where that 120 purchase price on a recent 130 sale drops or cools too much. So with the actual buy list, quick, short section on how to use it, what the 5 archetypes are, so that when you get to the players, you can understand why Jamal Murray is in the elite archetype, but Luka, Ant, Cade, and other guys like him aren't. The 3 card roles that you'll see for a lot of the players. So we have the anchor card, which was their most traded rookie card, the step up, which was a recognized premium parallel, and then the ceiling was their high end. Again, these I looked at PSA 10s for all of them, so that we could then say that this has happened at the PSA 10 level, so it's going to have a flow-on effect down underneath it. One really interesting thing that I found here goes back to how there's 3 different rookie card markets right now. Okay, the first is this behavior one here. For a lot of players, base rookie cards are being absorbed by premium and parallel rookie cards of theirs. So as you can see here with the likes of Trae Young and Dylan Harper, their PSA 10 bases, yeah, they dropped or they increased a little bit, but the higher tier parallels of the same cards actually rose with similar volume and trading, which is crazy. So what we're seeing there is that when people are looking to buy into these players, they're actually preferring to buy the parallels than they are the bases in a PSA 10. Logically, it makes sense, but what's really interesting is in the vintage, it's the reverse. It's the base cards and the anchor cards that have gone up, where everything else has dropped a little bit or not run as much. So when we're looking at what people are buying into modern versus vintage, again, small sample size here, but that's the trend that we are seeing. And then for behavior 3, the money is leaving first. Okay, so cooling is getting worse higher up the ladder that you go for players like SGA and Donovan Mitchell, where you can see that their high tier cards have dropped the most. So the market's cooled for them during the offseason, which is normal, it happens, but it's cooled the most at the higher tier cards, which is just really interesting because for the other players that we looked at in behavior 1, it's the reverse. Okay, some of their markets have gone up, but for these more established players, it hasn't. And I start to think of that as, well, SGA's already got so much priced into his market, so does Donovan Mitchell. So what needs to happen this season for them to reprice more? Even if SGA wins another championship or if Spider wins a championship, yeah, they're going to go up, but it's going to be short term like we just saw with Brunson, where throughout the season, these players have so many more opportunities for their markets to reprice, which is why we're seeing a higher increase on those parallels. That's what people want. They're not interested in the bases. When they're buying in, they want the parallels. They want those cards with specific tags on them. Okay, so those 3 different market behaviors are a huge signal for us. Just the price going up doesn't tell us much, but the gap between base and parallel tells us a heck of a lot. Gaps are widening on modern cards, and what that means is that the money's starting to arrive, so you buy into where the volume and the liquidity is. In vintage, it's going the other way. The demand is going into the more accessible cards. And when it comes to the established players that are currently active, they're cooling the higher that you get, which makes sense because a lot of people would be priced out of them. But that sort of data only tells you which cards. It doesn't tell you whether the player should be someone that you're looking to buy into at all. That's the second decision that I mentioned earlier in this video, and it's what I want to dive into now. So I'm going to focus on specific player profiles here and talk through them with you. Okay, so the first player here is Con. He's currently in the breakout archetype, which means that what we're looking for his market to reprice is that first All-Star appearance and some other smaller accolades happening throughout the season. So we can see here with his narrative, 81 games for Charlotte, 80 starts, averaged 19, 5 and 3, broke the Charlotte Hornets franchise record for a single season, all rookie first team, second in rookie of the year last year behind Flag, and he was awarded in the positioning. He's not among the most improved candidates, but he has risen on the top 25 under 25. So they're just things that we look at to see what sort of narrative is forming behind him. When we look at the team, last year, Hornets made the play-ins, and they're back in the postseason for the first time ever. But what's really interesting is LaMelo's gone, Josh Green is gone, Miles Bridges is gone, Trey Mann's gone, and Naz Reid has come in. So the Hornets have essentially taken a stance here where they're looking to rebuild around Con and Brandon Miller. Con could potentially be the new face of this organization. That means that there's the potential for a lot of risk if the Hornets don't perform, but also massive reward if they do. What this effect has on Con, LaMelo was their primary ball handler. He's now gone. He was also their highest usage player, and he's gone. Okay, Schroeder comes in, Kobe White's there. They absorbed some of that. But Con started 80 games, and he led the team in scoring for stretches last season. Okay, Miller has shown glimpses, but there is injury risk there. So it may fall more on Con if he's off the floor, which is great potential. What we're looking for the exit catalyst candidates for him, first All-Star selection. Okay, Charlotte's first playoff berth, like actually making the playoffs and not just the play-in. If he breaks his own franchise three-point record, or he's on track for it, if he finishes top 3 in the most improved player, or if he wins three-point contest at the All-Star weekend. They're all different events and catalysts that we'd be looking to buy into. The thing with Con's market is it cooled tremendously this offseason. At one point, it was down close to 50% from the top, and that's because Con cooled at the end of the season. So here, he is a player that personally we have been buying into, and we've been looking for those cards from Topps Finest, Topps Chrome, or Topps Midnight, those mid-tier sets with the tags and multiple tags that we're after. So we've been buying case hits, we've been buying numbered parallels, and we've been buying slabs of numbered parallels as the cards that we're looking to get into if they've been at fair prices. The risk, I'm okay with it personally because I'm a big believer in Con long term, and I'm okay being wrong about it. And we haven't taken that big of a position because of how much his market's cool. But these are the things that we're thinking about for a player that has a breakout archetype. The player narrative around them is strong. The team narrative around them is strong. And we have a number of different exit catalysts to stand on during the season. If it was only one or two of these, I'd be less inclined. But because there's so many, and I actually believe that he's going to be in this conversation, that Charlotte's going to be in this conversation, that he has a crack at these, like, okay, cool. Then, because of the price point that we're in, I don't see it cooling unless he comes out and he's just trash in his sophomore season, and that could happen with any player. I'm okay with buying into Con. That's my thinking process around it. Okay, another player that I want to talk about, but there's less context because it's not needed for him, is Anthony Edwards. So when we had a look at his index, it's actually risen almost 28%, okay, over the time period that we looked at, which is the last 12 months. His anchor, where there were 143 sales in the last 90 days, have gone up 25%. Okay, his Silver Prism, 63 sales in 90 days, went up 47%. And the Blue out of 199, there were only 7 sales over that 90 days, but they went up 11%. I have some bias here because he's my guy, okay? But what we need to think about here with these superstar players is their real exit catalysts come from these legacy events forming. So for him, it's going to be a finals appearance, it's going to be an MVP talks, and it's going to be a potential championship. They're the biggest catalyst events that will move his market. If he makes All-Star, if he makes All-NBA first team, like, yeah, we'll see short spikes, but it's not really going to reprice it for the long term. The thing that we need to think about here is that there's going to be fluctuations throughout the season because those legacy events aren't baked in. If Minnesota don't perform well, and if Ant doesn't perform well with LaMelo alongside him, we're going to see this, fluctuation happen. That's natural, that's normal. But Ant's baseline has already been established. So we're not going to see a regression from that and a drop from that too much. And if we do, it's going to get back there because he's that sort of player. Okay, the same is true for someone like Luka. Luka is an elite player, but when it comes to his archetype, he's just a superstar because the championship isn't there yet and the MVP hasn't been there yet. So his index right now, it's stable. We haven't seen too much. Okay, we saw a drop and a cool down in the offseason, but it started to come back up. So it's only 5% up, okay, over that 90-day period because it rose so much a little bit before. So we had 181 sales over 90 days of his Prism. It's up 8%. 64 sales of the Silver Prism, up 7.5%. And 2 sales of the higher tier, which dropped a little bit, but it's negligible. Okay, so what we need to understand here is that, again, like Ant, Luka's massive reprice comes from winning a championship, from a finals appearance with the Lakers, or from an MVP. He was in MVP conversations last year before he got injured. There's no LeBron here now, so it truly is Luka's team, and he's got AR and another support cast. That's all forming for someone with an international market: Europe, America, Asia, Oceania. Okay? He is one of the best offensive players in the league. And his market has been so stable for so long that we're not going to see a massive regression in it. If he doesn't have a solid season, then people will just start to question, is Luka even any good? And personally, my belief, and that's why I'm buying into him, I think he is. And I do believe that he has a championship and an MVP in his future. So that's why I'm buying in with those catalyst events. Again, like with Ant, knowing that there's going to be fluctuations over the season, but there is the chance that he goes on a triple-double run, like 40-point, 30-point triple-double run, which brings mass attention into his market. So if the MVP and championship and that don't look like they're going to be there, that's the potential exit catalyst that will happen for him. One of the other superstar players that I want to talk about is Ja Morant. This is a controversial one, but we can see here that his market is up 17% over the last 90 days. We've had 140 sales of his Prism PSA 10. Okay, it's up 16% and they're still just $36. Okay, 50 sales of the silver, up almost 40%. And like Luka, the blue didn't move too much. But the biggest thing here is Ja's card market cooled so much over the last few seasons because of the injuries and because of the off-court issues. That's just his card market though. His market sentiment is still so strong. His shoe sales are up and they're one of Nike's best sellers, and his jersey sales are still up. If he's healthy, it's an if. But again, personally, I believe that he's going to spend time on the court with Damian Lillard, with Denny Avdia, with Donovan Clingan, Scoot Henderson's there, Drew Holiday's there, Tamani Kamara's there as the defensive player. I just see him being in highlight reels and all over the media of this quote-unquote is Ja back. And what that's going to do, because of where his market's been to in the future, been to in the past, there's so much gap there that even if it gets halfway back up, his market has recovered tremendously. And because people believed in him in the past, they can again. We just need that consistency there. And I believe if he plays at an all-star level on that Portland team, good things will happen and his card market will recover. It's just one thing that I needed to cover in this. That's my thought process behind it. Okay, quick little cover on 3 elite guys so that you can understand that archetype. As I said earlier, SGA's market has cooled. It's down 16% over the last 90 days. Okay, we had almost 100 Prism sales, which are down 3%. Silver over 40 sales is down 19%. And his ceiling, 6 sales on it, is down 25%. The reason for this is that SGA already has so much priced and baked into his market. Okay, we're MVPs, we've won a championship. There's nothing here that needs to happen or that can happen in order for his market to reprice, unless they go and he wins over the course of his career 3 or 4 championships, 5 MVPs, finals MVPs, and those sorts of things. Okay, he is someone that you buy into because his market will recover. Okay, he's one of the greatest players that's in the league at the moment. Same is true for Nikola Jokic. Okay, he's cooled moderately, but again, it's because what needs to happen in order for his market to really reprice? There's so much already baked in for him. And what's the likelihood of Denver winning another championship? The other teams are so stacked right now. Who knows if he's able to carry his team to do that? And then we can see here with Jalen Brunson, he's up 80% because finals MVP and because New York just won the championship. Okay? But that means that this will cool over the season. It has to. And we'd be buying in because we're thinking that the Knicks are going to repeat. So that's the game that we play there, because those catalyst events, those legacy events are already baked into these guys' markets, where they're not for Cade, they're not for Luka, they're not for Ant, and those other superstar players who are players that are close to these guys' levels. Same with Wemby, but because of those catalyst and legacy events, they're not there yet. Okay, the final players that I want to talk about are the prospects. So we have some sophomore, like second year guys: Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, Cedric Coward, Carter Bryant, Trey Johnson. For these guys to start to get into the superstar level, they need most improved player, sixth man of the year, all-star conversations, or for their team, depending on what they're on, to make a playoff run. So the likes of Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, they need, and even Cedric Coward for that matter, they need the Grizz, the Wizards, or the Pelicans to make play-ins or make playoffs. Or they need individual performances themselves, because their team narratives aren't that strong. Okay, for Washington, they are now that DeBance's there and Trae Young's there. But for the Grizzlies, who are rebuilding, and the Pelicans, who are still rebuilding, I guess, they need a lot to happen for them to get to that breakout level, because they're not yet there. They're good players, they've shown glimpses, but they're not there yet. But these second-year players have last season to stand on. When it comes to the new lot of rookies that are coming in, this is all prospecting. Okay, the official rookie cards don't yet exist. Okay, we've got some Tops Now stuff out, and they've got their collegiate stuff. But when Tops rookie cards, the flagships and the chromes hit, they become the in-demand, and that's what people want, because they're the quote-unquote official rookie cards. So when we're looking at these guys, DeBanca, we're looking at rookie of the year if he has a 20-point per game run, or he averages 20 and 5 on the season, and the Wizards make the playoffs. They're the big exit catalysts and the narratives around him. Same for Darren Peterson. Rookie of the year conversation, 20-point per game run, Utah make the playoffs. For Boozer, rookie of the year, 20 and 10 average, Grizzlies make the playoffs. Caleb Wilson, you can see that it's the same sort of thing. But for the other players, like Malik Thomas, who stood out in Summer League, he might not be a factor for the Cavs. But if he gets solid bench minutes and he starts to show up more in the rotation, and he goes on runs where he scores 15, 20 points a game, and the Cavs are in the playoffs, he becomes someone that might see an increase into that breakout archetype for next season. Risk involved here because Cleveland is so deep, but he's just someone that might be a flyer. Okay? For Acuff Jr., rookie of the year, again, 20-point per game run, and if the Kings make the play, okay, it might not happen, and he might be someone that flies under the radar, and we look at a second or a third-year breakout. Okay? Same for Yaxel Lenderborg. If he starts for the Warriors, that's going to be huge. If he goes on a 20-point per game run, that's going to be huge. And if the Warriors make the playoffs and he's a factor in it, that will be huge for his market too. Okay, so the one thing that I would love for you guys to know is that this isn't like a content exercise. This is my exact market data that I use to make all of our buying decisions this NBA offseason. Okay? As I said, 80% went into superstar and breakout archetype guys. The superstars with the real exit catalyst landing this year, and the breakouts who have already proven something and have that potential all-star end-of-season award or playoff run with their teams. The other 20 went into prospects with a strong team narrative and individual narrative, and the elite guys because there's less risk there. And the key thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the positioning sizes as well. It isn't a yes, no, buy a lot of this guy, buy less of this guy. There's more thinking that goes into it. We'll use Jalen Duren as an example. Okay, there's not a lot of volume on his market right now, and his contract extension, and whether he's even with Detroit, it's still up in the air. Okay, there has been a cooling in his market, and that's why I'm buying in small amounts, even with those risks still there, and the fact that he didn't show up in the playoffs. He was one of the most dominant big men during the season, and his market moved with it. Okay, if he was secured in Detroit, I would have taken a bigger position, because he was a great purchase for us last season, and because of how much he's cooled this offseason, it would have rebounded and it would have been really nice. Because of those variables that are still up in the air, smaller position size was taken. And I tend to take smaller positions in most players because I don't want to be over-positioned in one and have something happen. There's too much risk involved with that. It's like having all of your eggs in one basket. Because this is a business, I'm going to mitigate risk, and I'm going to, put capital in different places where I believe that we'll see different returns, so more safety, more reward. And that's the key thing that I use this data for. It's not necessarily about buy or don't buy, it's about how big of a position to take in that player because of XYZ reasons. Okay? The one thing to tattoo on your brain is you're never buying just one thing. You're buying the card and you're buying the exit catalyst and the potential of that happening for the player. The gap shows you what card designs to buy into. The catalyst event and the potential of it happening tells you whether you should buy it all. But that's subjective. It comes down to your belief in it, because we're the ones that need to be okay being wrong, because we will be wrong at times. Okay? There's so much outside of our control when it comes to those sorts of things. So that's it for this video, guys. As always, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for being here with us. If you're finding value from these videos, helping you to profit more per card that you sell and build a business and systems for yourself, then subscribe to the channel. As I said, the entire buy list that I just walked you through, it is free. Link is in the description below. The thing to remember is that this is a snapshot of the markets. Okay, it's not a price guide. It's what happened in the period that I looked at over 90 and 180 days. Okay, and a player being on this list does not mean that you just buy him at any price. Okay, the price always matters, and that's what the next video is about, how I determine if the price is fair and whether I'm going to buy into the player. Okay, so if you want the full NBA offseason buy list, no need to comment or anything, just click the link below and you can get it for yourself. And if you enjoy this sort of content and you want my shorter player breakdowns, market breakdowns, or business insights and systems specific for sports card businesses, follow us at rookieheat_AU on Instagram, because I'm sharing that content daily there. Okay. And as I said, in the next video, I'll show you exactly how I decide what price to buy at and when I buy, including the red line that I never, ever, ever cross. Okay. See you in that video.